Hi everyone, today we are going to work on recognizing and writing fractions. Just a reminder, make sure that as you're going through your notes packet, you're following along, and anything that I write on the screen, you're also writing down in your notes so you have it to look back at. First, we're going to review. So let's start with just the basics of what a fraction is. So first of all, when we write a fraction, we can write the fraction bar across, but we also sometimes see it written diagonally. Either way, it means the same thing. Fraction bars mean division every single time. We can also think of the fraction bar as the words out of. And that's very important when you're thinking about how to correctly show an amount as a fraction. The top number of your fraction is called the numerator. Put N for numerator. And the bottom number of your fraction is called the denominator. Put a letter D for denominator. The denominator is always, always, always the total of whatever it is that you're counting. So let's take a look at an example. If we take a look at this first set of rectangles here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rectangles total. So that means that number is going to go in my denominator on the bottom of my fraction, 7 total. If I want to show the number that are shaded, I'm going to write the number that are shaded in my numerator. 3 are shaded. And if I read it back to myself using the words out of, it should make sense with the picture that I'm trying to show. 3 out of 7 are shaded. Yes, that makes sense. If we look at the next example, we've got 4 total squares. So the total is going to go in my denominator. 1 out of the 4 are shaded, so the 1 will go in my numerator. In the last example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total rectangles. So my total goes in my denominator. Even though they're not side by side, it doesn't matter. Out of the 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are shaded. And if we read it back to ourselves, 6 out of 10 are shaded. That makes sense. That's accurate. So we know we did it correctly. Let's take a look at some of the guided practice. So this is the way that these kinds of questions will show up on your progress monitoring. Sometimes they will just ask you to write the fraction correctly. And what they want you to recognize is where the numerator is and where the denominator is in the fraction. So if 39 is the numerator, that number is going to go on top. If 70 is the denominator, that number is going on the bottom. You can also think of it like denominator down. They both start with the letter D, and that can help. In the next example, it says 49 is the numerator, so that's going to go up top. 80 is the denominator, that's going to go in the bottom. Remember, denominator starts with a D, down starts with a D. That can help you remember which goes where. In the next example, we have a beehive, and they want to know what part of the beehive is shaded. So we're going to count all the parts of the beehive first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's our total, so that goes down in the bottom. And then out of that 13, 11 of them are shaded, so that will go in my numerator. And we should always read it back to ourselves. 11 out of 13 are shaded. Yes, that's true. That makes sense. Let's take a look at the next example. Again, they have a bunch of rectangles, and they want to know the shaded area is what fraction of the rectangle. So first we're going to count up the total number of rectangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That number is going to go in our denominator because it's the total. And out of those 5, 4 of them are shaded. 4 out of 5 are shaded. That makes sense. Over here, when we look at the circle, it says this chocolate cake has 4 slices. If you eat 1 slice, what fraction of the chocolate cake did you eat? I find it helpful here to shade in the slice of cake that I ate. And then really we're looking at exactly the same thing. There are 4 total slices, so the 4 goes down in my denominator. One of the slices I ate, one is shaded in. So I ate 1 out of 4 slices. That makes sense. This last example is, I think, the trickiest one, because you really have to be able to imagine the sides of this shape, and they're all solid. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one takes up this whole side here. That is a whole side of this shape. So there are actually 5 total faces on this shape, and then 1, 2, 3 of them are shaded in. This one, and this one. So this would be 3 out of 5. So now you're going to go ahead and go through the You Try It problems, and they are grouped so that all of the same kind of problem is on the same page, so you can go back and look at the examples or rewatch just part of this video if you get stuck or you need help. And then at the very end, there are some extra links for extra practice if you need it. Happy practicing!